What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, where we talk to individuals who are above average in mindset and action. I'm Will. This is Ethan. And today we're joined by the host of the Pro Series podcast, Eric Dillman.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, excited.
It's a long trip for you, huh?
No, just a half an hour.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm used to driving. I'm driving all the time for my job, so it's nothing.
I always forget how far away Cranberry is. When I came out to do your podcast, I was like, wow, it's just so much further than I imagined it to be.
Yeah. See, my parents just moved out to Slip Rock. I lived in Cranberry my whole entire life, and that drive, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Slip Rock. Mm-hmm. It feels like forever. From Cranberry to Slip Rock, it's just the longest.
Is that the other side? Are you going through the city? No, you're going. It's just north, right?
More north.
Yeah,
and
I'm going there next Saturday.
Oh, really?
I'm doing the Tough Mudder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect with that. We're only doing like the 5K.
You've done one before, haven't you?
It's a Spartan race.
Oh, what are the differences in the events between the two offhand? Because I've seen them both online. I'm like, I don't really know what the differences are.
I think the Tough Mudder, you're just covered in mud, and the Spartan race, you're not. Because that's
like the only difference.
From what I've seen, yeah, I did the Spartan race at PNC Park, and that was, like, there's no mud or
because
anything.
they're not going to put mud in there. That'd be insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the Tough Mudder, like, you see people sliding down hills just coated in mud, and then they're running through that. The one I always see is they have the electrical wires that are exposed, like running through those. Yeah, and they're getting like,
really?
Yeah, shocked. Yeah.
Dang.
There's another one where there was a pit of water and there's a fence over the top, and so you have to like swim while facing up so you can breathe through the fence. It seems like some pretty gnarly stuff. Like, I mean, my girlfriend's going and she's scared.
Yeah.
So
She's tough.
I think she'll be fine. I told her that, but I don't know. I'm curious because I'm going with a bunch of like people that don't really work out that hard. So I'm really curious to see how they handle it. But
it seems fun, but I feel like towards the end, it's just going to get like, you're just going to be so heavy with your shoes, everything.
That's what I thought too, because you're going through pools of water and like you have to wear shoes, like, and then you got to go run. Like, I don't know. How am I going to drive home?
Tarp it.
Yeah.
Good thing you have a Jeep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just going to maybe take the top off and just stand up on my drive back.
I'm like thinking they would bring stuff for people to like clean off. I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're making mud,
like
hopefully they have hoses. They can just be like, hey.
Shower or something. Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be smart.
Anyway, what a way to lead it off. No, I wanted to mention, so I was on Eric's podcast, and that was what we recorded that, probably a month ago, month and a half.
Yeah, probably.
Came out last week, and I watched the whole thing, and I was looking through your YouTube channel, and we were talking about how we're about to hit 20 episodes, or we're closing in on it, and then I was looking through yours, and I mean, how many episodes have you done at this point?
I think you were 154.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's what I mean. Yeah, I was
you're like podcast veteran.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, and then I have 74 of my other podcasts. So I have a branch off my main podcast that comes out on the weekends. It's just me, and I think I'm on 74 or 75.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I was.
You're peddling those things, man.
Yeah, it's fun. I do kind of like you guys. I bulk record them, and then the off topic that I do on the weekend, I just record by myself, like the day of.
Off topic on the weekend. So what are these podcasts about? Just to give some context for everybody.
So Pro Series is the main one, which was the one Will was on. It is just interviewing any professional, and it's just kind of learning about their journey from like basically the start of their career, so like college or after high school till now. It's just to inspire other entrepreneurs out there. And then off topic, it was like a year ago. I'm an avid podcast listener, and I like to listen to everything but design-related podcasts. And I'm like, I'm painting myself into a corner. I need to do something different. And I'm a big, country music listener, Barstool. I just wanted to say stuff that I couldn't do on Pro Series because it's just about the entrepreneur that I'm interviewing. So I just do one on the weekends, just me talking about literally everything, anything off topic.
Wow. Nice. Okay, So what have you found the most interesting when interviewing that many people? Because we haven't had that many. So we've, like we had discussed before, we've had like pretty much only seamlessly good experiences. And I don't think we'll have a bad one, but I'm like, you've just done so many more reps on interviews, reps with people. I mean, what's been the things that you didn't like realize was going to happen from doing so many?
Like the connections that you get. I knew I was going to be, it's a networking thing, doing podcasts.
Yeah.
But it's the connections that I have kept throughout this time.
Yeah.
So I have like people because I don't do just in person. I think I've maybe done 15 in-person podcasts on my podcast. So most of them are over Zoom because most of the people are out of the country or just in a different state. So I have like connections from all over the place that are messaging me. Like I have a friend in Australia who's he says he's an architectural designer, but he's an interior designer in that state. They just have a different name for it. But he messaged me the other day. He's like, "Do you want to hop on a call?" I'm like, "I can." It's like 1 a.m. But it's those type of connections that I never thought I would have had.
Yeah.
Have you ever had issues with like I think we talked about this, but like in person versus like Zoom? Like have you ever been on a podcast with someone, you're ripping it, it's flowing, and then like their Wi-Fi just shuts off?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I use Zoom primarily now, but I was using Riverside for a while. And if the guest closes the computer too fast, or if they have a bad internet connection, it just doesn't record it, or it's like very jumpy. So I had like 5 or 6 episodes that I had like really, really edit, and it was the worst experience of my life. Like I would answer a
major
question.
flaw.
Yeah. And I even emailed them. They're like, "Yeah, you can't have your guests close their computer so fast." I'm like, I can't tell my guests that.
You're like, it sounds like you need to talk to your dev guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my problem.
Yeah. Wow. So you're over 225 episodes now.
Yeah.
And so how many years does that span?
It being an official podcast, it started in the first of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, but before that, it was an IGTV TV show, like when IGTV was a thing.
I think I remember that actually now that you say it, because I mean we've been following each other for a while, and
yeah.
I mean IGTV is gone.
Yeah.
Is that a
It's
thing?
gone entirely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually haven't even like looked into it if it's still there.
But I do remember that now that you say. I remember seeing you on IGTV.
Yeah, I would post the whole episode on there. It wasn't on YouTube. It wasn't on podcast form. It was just the whole hour-long episode on Instagram. Now you can't even post that long of a video.
Yeah. That would be I feel like that would be cool for a podcast, like that you could watch just right on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I
feel like the only reason they would have taken that away is just to compete with TikTok at the time and
for sure.
optimize their time into it, instead of splitting creators' times into different ways. They just were like, well, we gotta try to take down the TikTok giant.
Yeah, they wanted to double down on destroying our attention spans.
Yeah. That's working.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't read anymore.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to read. You can only reference.
Consume TikTok. That's it.
That's the only way you can consume any information.
It sucks.
When TikTok came out, what was that, 2019, 2020?
I think it was before COVID, but not
It
by
was definitely before,
much.
I don't know.
Maybe it was 2019.
Funny, this is, sorry, unrelated, but someone posted the other day about, like, oh my God, I can't believe TikTok came out 10 years ago. And I'm like, no fucking way. And then I responded, and I was like, are you serious? Like, there's no way, right? And like, this is before, I could have just Googled it. And they were like, oh no, I meant the song TikTok by Kesha. And I was like, shut the fuck up, dude. I was like, come on. Like,
I thought that you were going to say they made that a reel and it was going to get you to like look at their, and the comments and then like look at that. You're hitting the algorithm because you're making up a lie and makes people argue and that horseshit.
Maybe I will now. But anyway, you were saying.
So when TikTok was becoming like, it was getting traction during the COVID, Google was trying to compete with them. It was like a thing called Cameo, and they had creators that they hired, and I was working with them so basically if you Google something, and I was only answering interior design questions, and they had like Kevin Hart was doing stuff, and Nick Jonas and all these celebrities doing it. So when you Google something, it will go, the first search on Google will be a video of yourself answering that question, because they thought we had short attention spans and we didn't want to read articles anymore. So when we Google stuff, so they'd give me like probably 100 topics a day, and I would have to answer so many, and then they would post my videos.
That's an interesting idea.
But they're gone now.
Yeah, so that was gone. What from your experience, because you were working with them in some capacity, what did they tell you when they were wrapping this up?
They didn't say anything.
Oh, they just ghosted you.
We had
it's like a bad hinge date,
Yeah, we had meetings like every month, with like your niche of your like the category that you're in, and then they just stopped.
Wow.
They sent me a Google speaker, but that's how they ended it.
Wow.
They did, or maybe they did send an email saying that they're just not doing it anymore. Maybe the money ran dry or something. I don't know. But it was
Interesting.
a good idea.
That sounds like a good idea. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't try to pursue that harder unless it was just definitively not making money to the point they have to.
Yeah.
Which like that happens with
that.
companies, you know.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's still here.
Really?
Sort of. I mean,
It probably changed a lot from when
Yeah.
you did it, I'm sure.
oh, no, my bad. This is because when you said it, I was like, because Cameo is the thing now where you can like buy a birthday shout
Yeah.
out from a celebrity.
Yeah, that was one of the things. They're like, that's
Yeah.
already a thing. Like, why don't you call it something different? And why did you even have to call it anything? Why don't you just add the videos to a Google
Just
search?
Google, yeah.
It was cool though.
Interesting.
It's
So-
even,
Now it's gone.
now there's not much about it at all. Google shutters Cameos because people care more about personalized opinions.
They just erased all the history.
Classic.
That's
Didn't
2022.
happen.
Yeah. That's
Huh.
pretty wild.
That's
So-
interesting.
Who are some of the most prominent guests that you've had on your podcast?
I mean, other than you.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Merrill Hodge I had in February, which was insane. So we were talking about his time with the Steelers, the Bears, and then kind of like how you transition from an athlete to a professional. His career ended kind of differently because he didn't he was kind of forced to retire because of concussions. And then I had a bunch of HGTV people, which was insane. My very, very first episode, like in-person episode or Zoom episode, was an HGTV person. So like that was nerve-wracking within itself. I think I told you I took a couple shots before I did that because I was just so nervous.
Is that how did you make that connection with? I mean, well, HG, and I haven't watched a lot of HGTV in my life, but it's Home and Garden, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that stands for?
Yep.
Okay. And so I'm just trying to think right now, like what's like the big show on HGTV? Is it like is Selling Sunset? Like is that on HGTV?
That's on Netflix.
Oh, was it on HGTV at one point?
No.
So then what? Because
There's a connection, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think the one girl is married to one of the people that are on HGTV.
Okay. Because there's, like, what was like, was it the Property Brothers? Like, were those dudes on HGTV?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Chip and Joe. Chip
Okay.
and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah.
Fixer Upper. Those were like the big prominent ones. But honestly, I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things when you work in the industry, you don't want to
Yeah, just wanna
watch
get
it.
out of it.
So I don't even know what the biggest show is right now.
Yeah. So how did you make that? How did you get them on your podcast?
I don't know if he followed me first or I followed him. It was when I was like full time in design. I was posting design work all the time, and we were always going back and forth messaging each other about building materials, all this stuff. And one day I'm like, you know, you want to come in and just go on a Zoom call real quick and just do like a late night talk show type of interview? And he's like, sure. He just set me up with his assistant, and we set it up.
That's seamless.
Yeah, it was honestly the weirdest thing in the world because before that, he was my very first like actual interview. Before that, the Pro Series was just a content idea where I had people send in videos of what's the best thing for ROI, like the best return on investment for your house. And I wasn't part of it at all. I just asked them the question. They sent me the video. I posted on my Instagram because I just didn't want myself on Instagram.
Why didn't you want yourself on Instagram?
I think it's just that thing. You're just shy in the beginning.
Yeah,
You didn't want to
fair.
see yourself. You didn't want to hear yourself. And
Yeah, that's-
2020 came, and I'm like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's very understandable. I always find it interesting why people do or don't do that because some people do it and they do it so well, and then some people you meet them and you're like, oh, you should do that. You know, like you're like, oh, you'd be amazing at it, and I'm always wondering, I'm like, why don't people like jump into doing it more, especially if they're just going to naturally be good at it? I guess it's just a want versus a need.
Yeah.
Like I guess if they needed to, maybe they would just like do it one time and they just like skyrocket and be like phenomenal at it. But so you kind of transitioned to putting yourself out there too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the very first one. It's pretty cool to put it out there on that one.
What a big one.
Yeah.
Big first one.
Yeah, seriously.
That's crazy.
The first couple were, I think right after that was another HGTV person, and then the other one was an executive of a big design company. So it was off to the races like right away.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm very fortunate that they even said yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we haven't really we haven't had a guest that has had an assistant you know, like to the point where
Yeah,
like you're not
definitely.
directly communicating with the individual.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you are, but then they're like, oh yeah, like this person will set up the administrative side of it, which is
I don't
interesting.
think so. Yeah.
No, we definitely haven't.
I think we'll get there maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just have to cross that road when we get there.
Yeah.
Get there.
Yeah.
And then we'll call you and be like, hey,
How'd you
totally didn't work out.
do? Yeah.
Help us out next time.
I do that now. It's just talent agencies that just pitch me people. So I never talk to the people until I actually log into the Zoom call,
Whoa.
Whoa, interesting. Okay. That's kind of crazy.
which
Because
I kind of like.
we have built rapport with everybody we've had thus far.
Yeah.
I think pretty equally, at least if it's not him, it's me, like one or the other, if not sometimes both. But we'll bring a guest and somebody knows them more than the other person. And it's like makes it, I don't know, seamless. But also, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you do enough reps, the other way would work just as fine.
Yeah, I kind of like it just because I always say the questions I'm asking are selfish questions. Like it's kind of like what I want to know. And I'm
Yeah.
not really thinking about the viewer, which is bad, but I just want it to be as casual as possible. And going into the call, I literally read up their bio and that's literally it.
Wow.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
So then, I mean, we were talking about this off camera, but I mean, with going in blind almost, I mean, a little bit, I guess, with the bio, but I mean, how many times have you had to like drag someone through a podcast or
Oh.
like,
It's probably a good handful.
really?
Yeah. I've been lucky enough, a handful out of 70 or out of 150 some.
Have you ever just been like, yo, do you really even want to do this?
No, I make it out to the end.
Yeah.
And I cringe like when I press the post button, but yeah, I've definitely had this.
I feel like you're
hard.
going to do that one day. Like, we're going to get to a point where you're just going to be like, look, man,
Like, what do we do?
we're going to click restart right now.
Yeah. I do that to people sometimes, like not in a podcast setting, but like when I go on like sales calls with people,
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you want to do this? They're like, it'd be nice. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
Nice.
do you want to get fit and feel better or not? Just tell me. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. Like, just say no and we can get off this call. We don't have to drag this out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same idea. I mean, they are, you know, if there's a talent agency setting them up, like obviously that is for a reason. And so they should, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't understand like the positives that come out of, you know, having a conversation that's recorded and like being able to show more of your personality.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Or they're just, that's their personality type of being shy.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely said no to a bunch of people. Like they send the bio and I'm like, that doesn't sound interesting because I don't think I could have a conversation. Like I have nothing to add there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely had ones that like just give you the yes or no answer. Don't drag it in. Like don't talk.
It's I think it's interesting because like sometimes during our podcast I didn't look as much into you almost at all so that I could prompt questions that are unprompted, like really just actually getting to know you while we're doing it, because I think there's a level of like, I've learned this in my job in marketing, is just if you can see it from an outside picture, that's the best way to approach some situations. So when you have a new client and you're not from that industry, you see the things that they don't see, and that's always helpful. So I find it helpful because I'm like, okay, well, the viewer doesn't know you at all. They do know us, relatively speaking. So if I come in and I'm like, if I know way too much about somebody, that's really good pointed questions, but it might not even like cover like who the person is or like how they think about something. It might be too like informational, you know? So I find it as a superpower sometimes. But then again, if you don't know anything about the industry, then you're going to sound like kind of dumb, just be like, oh, I don't really know how this works.
Yeah. And it can put you off guard too. If you come in and you don't know anything, there's a couple times that they threw a couple curveballs that their agents did not tell me about. And I questioned if I wanted to post it. I did post them, but yeah, going in blind is I think a superpower as well.
Yeah. If you are the person that can handle that, because I feel like other end of the spectrum, like somebody's like, I need to know everything all the time, and they get like stressed out, and you're like, oh, you know, I mean, you can't treat it like that. It's gonna be like, it's gonna drive you crazy, you know. So you kind of just got to be like, well, we'll just see how it goes, you know, just like release a little bit of that energy out there for the conversation to happen. But
What kind of curveballs are we talking about?
I was about
Oh,
to say
man.
next, I was like, what kind of?
One over the summer, I got pitched this guy. He's an author. There's this one talent agency that's just authors. They send me just pretty much entrepreneur books that these people have written. And this guy wrote about an addiction. And I didn't read the book didn't read. It just in his bio it just says he had addiction, which I had many times. Just someone maybe like that conquered, alcohol or drugs. But he drops the ball about him being a porn addict on the podcast, and I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And he like wanted to ask, or he wanted me to like dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
And I was not willing to
Not prepared for that.
I'm like, that's not something you talk about like in a professional
Yeah.
podcast. But that was like the biggest curveball. And you could probably, if you went back to that episode, see my face. I'm like,
Oh.
holy crap, like what just dropped on me?
Yeah.
We haven't had anything like that yet.
No, nothing like that.
I would like kind of low key love something like that. I'd be like, okay, we're gonna figure out what happens next. But
I think we
but then
teeter
it's a
on the
risk.
line a little bit, Like, I mean,
We do.
With your podcast being like a pro series podcast, like it's definitely like a very formal conversation.
Yeah.
And like I think we do have those formal conversations, but we also kind of like go off script at the same time. Like we talked about, I mean, the Kellogg guy giving yogurt enemas back in the day. You know about that?
No.
Yeah, so that's a thing apparently. Like that was real. John Kellogg, the guy that invented like not Frosted Flakes, what are they? Corn Flakes. Yeah.
Okay.
He created those like to be bland to like keep people's like sexual desires like
Really?
dulled out. Yeah. And he had this I can't remember the name of it. It was like it's like a it was like a it's not a terrarium, but it was like a big compound where people went to live, and a lot of famous people went there, and they had a room where they like gave people yogurt enemas.
Definitely worth talking about on the podcast.
We did.
Yeah.
We
If
did.
you
a
ever want to
podcast
talk about it on your
that,
podcast.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Yeah. We just kind of like, I mean, that day we recorded an episode that day, and it was just we just went on Wikipedia and we're just finding crazy shit and just talking about
Go
it.
down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Which you can do. That's a lot of content right there. It's
Yeah.
just purely a reaction video based on a Wikipedia article, which is like, it's not a bad idea. I'd watch that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see what people say to stuff, and
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that with guys in the Army a lot. Like, there's a couple like Army influencers that just react to like not even like bad combat things, but like funny stuff in the Army, like a drill sergeant and this thing happening, and the reaction videos are fantastic because I can relate to the topic, and I know what that guy knows, and I'm like, what is happening here? And I mean, it drives traffic because it's just funny.
Yeah. There was a podcast I used to listen to. It was called the Ross Bolin podcast. And this guy had a segment. It was called Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High. And he would just find the most obscure Wikipedia articles. Like there was one about like alien abduction in the 50s. It's like the most like well-documented alien abduction. It was so interesting. You would do it like every episode. I was like, this is fantastic. He doesn't do it anymore though. So I don't listen.
It'd be cool to do that on your podcast, but like, where do you find all that?
I think you got to just,
You have the deep
Dig.
dive? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when you have to hire someone.
yeah, you got to get your own Joe Rogan assistant pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Just to find things.
That'd be cool.
Have
Or
you
just
seen,
spend forever on TikTok.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. Have you seen like the storyteller guys that do like stories, and it's like weird, either dark or creepy stories? There's a couple
Like
that
the
are
Reddit
pretty,
threads?
Yeah, but there's a guy that like tells stories, and that is his content. And it's not a podcast, but it's like video content. He tells crazy stories, and like that's what he does is
maybe.
tell
I
the
don't know.
stories. So he like dolls it up. He doesn't change facts, but he like dolls up how the story's told, and like the ending. You're like, whoa, like that's crazy. Like I didn't see that coming. And it's not his own story. He just finds them. But some of them, I'm like, how? Like I even tried to Google some, and it's like so deep in the internet, and this guy verifies them though. So he like will figure out how to contact these people that tell this story. Like there was this one story, which like I don't want to tell the whole story, but a couple goes on a date, and they're going through the mountains of California, and they get like a weird feeling, like an eerie feeling. And what had happened is they had walked past somebody that had just gotten murdered that was in the bush, and the killer was in there, and it was Ted Bundy. And this was like a real story.
This sounds familiar to me. I think I've heard this.
Yeah, so that was told by Mr. Bond. He's
Okay.
one of them, but he's like a pretty well-known one now that like does these storytelling things.
Wow.
Super interesting on like how he finds these, but then he'll do like a live show with the stories, which sounds weird when you're like, why would you watch a guy just tell a story? But it's like remarkable how like good he is at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
Check that out, yeah. Before we continue, we've got to give a shout out to 111 Juice Bar for supplying us with some juice for the podcast. They don't have their Carson Street address on here.
Uh-oh. Are you sure?
That's
Oh,
the downtown.
so that's the downtown one. Okay, so which one do you have today?
Oh, I've got, this is a new one. This is made in, it says PGH, but it's peach in parentheses if I need to explain that to you guys. But yeah, this is a new one. That's the pumpkin seed milk, I think, and then that's like the best seller, Nipsey Blue. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, we can. Is it open?
Yeah.
Let it rip on these. It's gonna be
That is good.
right. Yeah.
What is this last ingredient in this thing?
Is it Spinarula?
Yeah. What is that?
Good question. It's what can I compare it to? That's what gives it the blue color. I know that.
Oh.
It's like a.
I guess that makes sense because nothing else is blue in this.
Yeah. I don't even know how to spell that.
Yeah, because they also have it in this too.
It's a dried biomass of some type of bacteria that can be consumed by humans and animals.
That's good.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not poison, but you might hallucinate.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have our. We don't have the indigo tonics out here.
I'm out of them, so that's why.
Oh wow, you ripped through those. Mine are full.
Really?
Yeah,
I've been using them every day.
Really? Do you
Yeah.
feel different?
I mean, I broke my hand.
Well, so
What is that? What's it indigo?
that was our second most recent episode. So this girl Michelle, she's the co-founder of this business called Indigo Tonics, and they have like CBD oil.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with like mushrooms.
You did tell me about that.
Non-psychedelic. But
Yeah.
she gave us a couple samples. They have one for what? It was sleep, focus, and immunity.
Yep, sleep focus and immunity, and they're fantastic. I use the ones that she gave us, so we don't have them to put out. But Michelle, shout out to you with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I mean, they're alcohol based, and so the idea is that like your body metabolizes alcohol first, so it's gonna hit you like right away.
Oh,
But,
okay.
Definitely something you got to take consistently, I think.
Yeah, I think you do, and it's like it tastes like alcohol. I mean, in some sense, it tastes like Fernet almost, or something like that, or something like an Amaro.
Yeah.
Alcohol base is what it reminds me of, but they don't taste bad though either, which is kind of
it's not
surprising.
bad, yeah, I mean it's like
It's just like odd.
chocolate dirt flavored alcohol a little bit.
Oh, sounds appealing.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were mentioning the screening process with HGTV and
Yeah.
Netflix, right?
Yeah, I haven't had an episode in a long time with them, but there was a couple episodes that like the casting agents have to be on the call. So it's a Zoom call, and I have me and then the guest, and then they're blinded, so it's a black screen. And they'll message like if they don't like something that's asked or something, and then I have to send them the episode for them to screen it and show it to whoever's up, their managers or whatever, just to make sure it was in a right light.
Yeah.
And then they do that I have a Netflix person as well, probably like 2 years ago. They sent me the casting agent. I had to send them the whole episode on Zoom, and they just watch it and say, hey, take this out, take this out.
Did you have to cut a lot of stuff out?
Not on Netflix was really, really easy to use. HGTV, I had to cut some stuff out.
So when they're I mean, did that happen where they message you like in real time?
In the call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, don't ask that.
It's more bring this up, talk about this.
Okay.
Which sucks because you see it come up on your screen and you see my reaction.
Yeah.
Because like you have to have some type of reaction when a message comes up. I'm not expecting that. I'm
Yeah.
recording an episode. But yeah, it's happened a few times.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. Like, I mean, because you're not really thinking about the fact that your facial expression is being recorded.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it kind of messes up the flow too, because
It
I mean,
does.
it could be a completely different topic. Like, how do you transition that?
Yeah, I hate it. The actual guest, the 2 times that I remember it happening, they emailed me after. They're like, I'm so sorry that happened. Like, I did not want that to be a thing. But I understand if the big network wants to be in control, but also it kind of sucks. It's the whole point of a podcast, why people love it. It's not scripted, and you just say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got to keep a job, even if it's a nonsense one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fortunately.
It makes it feel so, I want to say doctored, but fabricated almost,
Yeah.
manufactured. Yeah. Which, I mean, who knows? Like, there's probably a lot of podcasts that we listen to that are like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that we just don't even realize. So, I mean, I feel like unless you're on the inside of it, you wouldn't really know.
No.
You know, people
Yeah.
are probably that good at just
Hiding
making
it.
those transitions. Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Like the
hiding it.
big podcasts are probably
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Joe Rogan's not like that, though.
No, I think that's the most libertarian podcast there is. Like, they just do whatever they want, you know?
Yeah, like I think he's in a rarity where like he just got to a point where he had that leverage because he had just so many people that watched. And yeah, it's probably not many that are up there realistically.
No.
I mean, I think maybe he's inspired some of that action for other people, but you just can't tell the guy no because he's just got so much of a viewership, and the people would rally in the streets. I think so, you know, in some places, you know, if you tried to control Joe.
Yeah. He has a good one just came out about aliens. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I was on my way back from North Carolina, and it was like a 3-hour podcast. And I was like, when am I ever going to listen to a 3-hour podcast fully? And this was the time. It was a guy that used to work for the Pentagon. And like, I think he still has.
I watched that one.
Did you really?
Well,
Yeah.
I listened to it because I was, I did a jog for the first time, and it was like walk, jog. So it was really slow. So I had like a full hour and a half straight before I even got home. And then I'm like listening to it in the shower because I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
It was pretty crazy because like aliens, like they have said that like there's like there's UFOs that we don't know what they are,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like, oh, fine. Like no one's reacting the way that you'd think they would, and this guy's like giving evidence from the Pentagon, and it's just like,
And he is also saying, he's like, the stuff that they haven't released is insane. Like just like how we see like crappy footage from one aircraft every couple of months, somebody like the news will have a piece of evidence that they show and it's like kind of blurry and you're like, why is it always blurry? And he's like, no, we have got like 4K footage that you can tell everything around it. Like,
Do you think people would freak
Interesting.
out if they actually released it?
well, so on the episode, so that's what they talked about. So they're like, well, what would be the rationale between these things, like exposing themselves, knowing that we have technology, like a cell phone can capture it decently well now. And the theory a little bit was like, well, if humans wanted to expose, you know, ourselves to like a native tribe, we do it kind of slowly. And, you know, you might have one person go over there and try to talk to them, you know, and make sure that they're not a threat. And you just like slowly expose them. And they think that was like possibly a reason why they're like appearing. And now they're like okay with us tracking it so that people are okay with seeing it every once in a while. And to test the waters on like if we're going to freak out, you know, and panic. And now it's like, kind of like you said, you don't think about this very much, right? And if you saw something in person, maybe that would be like, oh shit. But until then, you've seen like this and that online and you're just like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then you just like move on with your day.
That's insane. I need to listen to that one.
it's wild. I don't know if there was ever like a real time where like we had like a televised like landing of a UFO, like Independence Day or something. Do you imagine like how like split things are right now just in general with like how many people think that fake stuff is real? That would just tear everyone apart.
Oh,
Well, would it? Because 9/11 happened and that brought our country together very much
okay.
so.
Yeah, so there's
that
aspect of it where it's like,
part of it. Like
unite against a foreign threat, that kind
the
of
beginning of COVID, people were united too.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh, this sucks. It's gonna suck for a couple weeks, and like it was not craziness. And they
2
got
weeks.
into fucking banana sandwiches all over the place, man. It just like became nuts. But so like I think maybe some people would be like, oh, that's a common enemy.
Yeah, that's true.
Or some people would be like, they're friendly. And then other people are going to be like, I have an AR-15. They're not friendly.
The rapture.
Yeah. Or they just go against it and they're like, oh, they've been lying to us this whole time.
That's
and that's where the collaborate or the divisiveness of people would come into play because they'd be like, they knew the whole time, you know.
Have you ever seen that? There's like the South Park episode where they talk about, well, it's about like 9/11, but the whole thing was like the government like perpetuates the fact that they perpetuated the rumor that they did it because they want people to think that even though they didn't do it.
No.
Yeah, so like it's kind of the same thing with with aliens. Like this guy being on Joe Rogan, like I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like there's probably somebody out there that thinks that this guy is making all this stuff up because the government wants everyone to think that UFOs are real, when in reality he's lying the whole time and it's not real. But by getting people to think they're real, then that's going to keep everyone occupied.
Yeah.
And like
that's
what people think. Like that's a real thing. Like with conspiracy theories, like people think that the government perpetuates them so to keep people occupied, so they're not really like.
I'm not like advocating and knowing that I think how things work, but I'm like, look, at least I was in the Army. That's the one experience I have. But like, watch how the DMV runs. That is going to be like the rest of the government. I just hope people realize that like people are not so far above and beyond able to manage and control things as much as you would think, because they're just people like similarly at the
no
freaking DMV.
Secrets.
You know.
That's too many people.
Yeah.
There's too many people.
Way too many people.
The people that know the secrets, it's probably a handful, you know.
Yeah.
It has to be.
No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it all runs like the DMV. So, you know, that's just one way to think about it. So,
So where does the podcast go for you? I mean, you got so much longevity in it now. Like, I mean, it's a big testament to the notion of just showing up, because I mean, you've been consistent for so long.
Yeah.
So where do you want to take it?
Oh, I mean, it would be awesome if it just gets bigger. It'd be cool to do a live show, I think. I think that'd be
Interesting.
really
Okay.
cool. Which I'm kind of in the works of doing one now, but more design related. But it's kind of cool. It'd just be so cool to have a live show, have a live audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Where would you do that?
I won't say where I'm in talks.
Yeah.
But just, I think even just most of the time, like right now, we don't really have anybody here. But just doing it like in someone's, office with just a bunch of workers or whatever, start slow and then kind of go up. I mean, you see those people have podcasting tours all over the place. Like Barstool does them all the time. They do them at like the Benham and stuff. That would be so cool, but you have to get up there to the point where you can actually sell tickets.
I don't know if I was ever even aware of that. Like, I guess
really?
now that hearing you say it, like, I know it's a thing, but I didn't realize that they were like legit going and recording an episode in front of a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that they were like, that was like a show.
Yeah.
I guess.
No. I mean, I've seen that they've done that. Yeah. It's. Oh man, I'm not sure if I could do that. I don't know. I mean,
That
like,
would be interesting.
I think it'd be fun.
It's like Kill Tony.
it'd be fun, but well, yeah. It'd be fun, but I don't know. I think it would change the dynamic of the podcast.
Oh, it definitely would.
For sure.
Definitely.
You know, because there's just like we have a controlled space, except for that guy trying to ask for the card outside, pretty controlled space. But I guess like live, you don't know what could actually happen.
Exactly.
Be pretty interesting.
That's also a cool part. I've listened to podcasts that have them live and you just hear people screaming and saying stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Some crowd work with our podcast.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to put you with the crowd work and just see what happens.
Oh, I don't know. I would need someone to tell me that I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
Have you seen Kill Tony? Do you know what that is?
No.
So that's you've seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian, and he
Okay.
has a podcast it's in Austin, I think, at the Joe Rogan's comedy mothership. And the idea is that they have like a panel of comedians, and there's people that put their name in to come up on stage for a minute and just like give their best shot at stand up.
Oh.
And so these people are like, some of them are returners, some of them are doing it for the first time ever. And they're all, when they put their name in, they're at a bar across the street. So they'll pull a name out of a hat and then they go and get them from the bar. And then they come over and they get 1 minute just to say their best jokes. And then like the panel will roast them or tell them how good they were. And it's like they're 3 hour episodes. Like they're pretty long. And I've seen like the clips on TikTok and stuff. And then I started watching the episodes, and they are really hard to watch when someone bombs.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
I had to leave the room. I was the only one in my house. I was like, I can't watch this right now. Like it's brutal.
Yeah.
But then there's some people that come up and crush it. And it's a really cool idea for a podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's completely open-ended. Like they just are kind of taking what they're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them where they ask questions to the guest, or they just like say a random story that like they need advice on. Those ones are the coolest thing because they're just like this random horrible stories that they need advice on.
Oh, it's like Dave Ramsey's podcast is like
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
people calling saying they're $1 million in debt. What should I do? And
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey's like, pay off all your debt. Don't save at all.
that's another thing. Having like a call line or a text line,
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. I feel like I had an idea for something like that at one point.
For this?
Maybe, yeah, like almost setting up my phone like on Instagram, like to go live while we're recording.
Oh, we had done
stressful.
kind of like live questions, but or not questions, but I said, what should we talk about once? And I got a couple responses, but they were just not
Yeah, not
like
real.
great questions. Yeah. Or just not like real things. And I was like, well, I mean, this could have been cool if somebody had actual questions. I could get some traction doing that every week, or maybe just the episodes where it's just us.
Yeah.
You know, but
Eventually.
so like if you were to take it to the next place, you had said that would be an idea. What else would you want to do with it? Like maybe not even a new idea, but like what other things would you be like wanting to add just to like, you know, this progression?
It would be cool to like actually travel to these guests.
Yeah.
Like actually, like if it's somebody that's co-founded a company, actually go to the company or go to their house and interview them. I think that would be really cool.
That'd be
Just
sweet.
get tours of what
Oh
they built.
yeah. Yeah. You do that now a little bit. I mean, like the in-person podcast that you've done, right? Because you mentioned that you usually would go to where they are.
Yeah, to their showrooms or something, but we don't really do like a walk around. It'd be cool to have like a podcast, but like walking around, learning about the company.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into, well, I guess, I mean, you have to get to this point, but like the idea of having like someone with a camera that's like
Oh, yeah.
following you around almost, like setting all that stuff up.
Yeah. I would love to have an assistant. I can't keep up with like the emails just because I have this job. I'm a president of an organization in Pittsburgh, and then I have a couple other side jobs and then podcasts on top of it. I would love to have an assistant to do that and then also edit. And because right now, like you have a cool setup. You have all three of these cameras and software. I just use iMovie and my phone.
Dang.
Yeah, and I have a pod track and a couple mics that connect to my phone, and it's one stream of audio. So it's like there's not a lot of control there.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to have
It's
that.
good audio though too, you know, with that being one track. Because that was well, I mean, before you were co-host, like that was one of our issues is like we had, I mean, our mics weren't very good previously, like our first season, but we had, we weren't recording separate tracks. So then the mic, like his mic would pick up what I'm saying and then shut my mic off. And so then my volume would go high and then go low. And then it was the dude that was editing for us at the time. Like he told me for one episode, it took him like 15 hours to get it to where it was like reasonable.
He went through like every section that was like this with one voice and had to lower it. And oh my God.
I was like, dude, don't do that. Just tell me it's not going to work. Like, don't
That's
do
a nightmare.
15 hours. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I'm lucky enough to not have to do that. I think the setting I have it on, it just keeps it at one volume the whole time.
Yeah.
It doesn't
No,
shut you off.
It was solid. Yeah.
The one sucky part of having Zoom calls is most of the clients or the guests that I have on don't have a mic, so they're using
Their audio might be a little rough.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
sound
fair.
like a tin can or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the
Cause
other
like
part.
we've debated on like, you know, expanding this, like how else can we expand? Obviously not being just Pittsburgh-ish people by how far they have to drive. Like we only had one person that drove more than an hour. But I've considered doing that, but I'm like, well, man, just being picky or just being reliable. It's like pick somebody that knows how to use their camera stuff. If they even have any would be helpful. But sometimes like you might have the best person on the planet. They're like, I barely even have an iPhone, and they're just like incredibly good for a podcast. So it makes it challenging, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think we could do it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain people that you've brought up that have been like, that have their own studios, you know, which is,
That's awesome.
that's easy.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
they're going to know what they're doing. But
Yeah, and then you record and have them send the whole thing, and you say, "Hey, send the whole thing raw footage or whatever." Like if they were cool with like, us editing, that would be great. But getting an assistant, I think you could have a lot of cool dynamic things if you had a video, just even someone just to hold the camera. The editing software side, yeah, too. But like just having someone that can do that, because then if you did a podcast house tour, like have a person with a gimbal, like being able to follow through with it, and you could be like hosting,
Yeah.
like from the camera point and the person point as you go through. Be really cool.
Yeah. And you also need a producer or someone to help you schedule that stuff,
That's true.
because that's going to be a nightmare in itself.
yeah. Do you have a lot lined up, like in the near future?
Yeah. I have like 3 a week I usually record.
Oh, wow. And that's with, oh, okay. So that's, I mean, some of those is a few of those with just yourself. Is that counting
That's
that one?
not counting
Okay.
those ones. Those are, well, I mean, I go through like this whole week for work. I was in Columbus, so I didn't record any. But if I'm home, I will record, 3 a week and just bunch them. Like I have enough to release until I think the beginning of November. So, because I just get, because I go away on business and then I don't have time to record, or there's weeks that I just don't want to record at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to have it in your back pocket and just pull it up.
For sure. That's what we were doing for a while, and then we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had a couple trips back to back and different things happened, but interesting. Okay. What else do you want to work with sponsorships, just out of curiosity? Like, is it a goal to fully do this full time?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be
Or like
cool.
a dream state?
Yeah. Or I mean, I'm fine with it being a side gig. I think it helps with my, sales job, because a lot of people want to be on the podcast, and I'm like, hey, if you want to be on the podcast, let me have a meeting with you, talk about my products. So it works that way, and it helps out with sales. So it being a side job, I'm fine with, but it would just be cool to have it on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and like, I think that's kind of what ours, we enjoy doing it. And like, I'm not sure, I'm not going to like speak for Will. I just enjoy doing it no matter what we do with it. Mm-hmm. But like, if it came to a point where it got us clients and interest, just outside of just networking, like, I mean, I know that would be, huge for you as a business, and
sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think I'd probably be doing it anyways, because I like talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great for business, and it's also networking. Did you guys, when you started it, did you get that kickback from anybody? Like, it's like, oh, just another podcast again. Someone.
We just got a comment on the other day on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. It was
Someone
like
said that
2 days ago. Did you see those?
He's on it with this.
Oh, I was firing back at this dude.
Oh, really?
Dumbass. Yeah.
He's our what's it called?
I'm a social media enforcer.
Social media enforcer. There we go. That's that's like the opposite of the corporate title I was trying to think of.
Yeah. It was our podcast, the money podcast we did.
Oh,
And,
okay. Beautiful. I knew that somebody was going to harp on that one.
It was the classic, like, in quotes, bro, let's start a podcast. And I was like, unleash me. And I responded on the podcast page first. And I said something like, but you still watched it, And then he responded again. And he was like, oh, like, great that it's your goal to get like 70 views or something. And then I went on my TikTok and went to the TikTok page. And I said like, oh, so like no one should do anything because you say they shouldn't. I was like, that sounds great. And then I looked at his TikTok, and he was posting like he has like a Star Wars tattoo, which I like Star Wars, to be fair, but I could have used that against him. And he deleted all of his comments. So that's our most recent one. Like that's not that crazy. We get like the
Will the enforcer. If you need a social media enforcer, this guy, contract him.
I'll just waste all day
Really?
responding to people.
I never reply back anymore.
I wish I could get to that point. I've been trying,
Yeah.
but I get so mad sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like, because I would never say that type of shit to anybody.
No one, most people wouldn't.
No, because number one, it's a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, like, why? Who the fuck cares? Like, I mean, if someone wants to do a podcast, let them do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What do you care? Don't watch it. And that's the thing that irritates me the most, is that you're literally just putting out like the negativity for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
And I want to tell people that.
Yeah.
So
He's a great enforcer for us. It's sweet.
right now we don't really have that much to deal with.
No, but I like to mess with people on the other end, and if a comment comes up and then somebody even comments off that and it's like the same negative thing, I'm like, you're helping my algorithm, right? And then they'll respond again. I'm like, dude, you just did it again, dude.
Yeah.
You just did it again. I just mess with them, and they'll be like, oh, I'm like, you're just making it work better for me.
Yeah.
Better engagement rate. I just like it.
You just like
I just like the comment.
Yeah. I told you about the guy that was DMing me, telling me that I should be asking him for advice. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some guy commented on my, like, the reel I made where I was like putting my spare tire back on my Jeep, and he was like, said something about like, when does the strong guy come in? And I was like, okay, man, fuck you. And then like, but then I responded later, like 6 months later, because it was so stupid. And then he starts DMing me, telling me how his gym was like one of the gyms that they based the movie Pain and Gain off of. You ever seen that movie with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, we had all these IFBB pros, and I was a coach. I'm like, I don't care. And then I looked at his Instagram, and it was like about metal detecting.
this tracks. He's just
It's just making shit up, And so then after a certain point, I was like, all right, dude, yep. And then he was like, well, you didn't even ask me for advice. You want to be a big timer? And I was like, you came onto my page and then you want me to ask you for advice about what?
And, like,
digging in the dirt? Like, I don't know what you want from me.
The best part is too, like, nobody would say this kind of stuff to you in person.
No,
Never.
I would humor anybody that really got on my page and be like not even as a fight, literally see if you can speak out loud and say that in person, because I'll smile to you, I'll shake your hand, and then you'd be like, oh man, I feel like a shithead. Like, so.
Yeah, man. Where can everyone find your podcast, find your social medias, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, they could follow me at Eric Dillman Designs on pretty much everything, except X. It's Eric Dillman DZN because there's not enough characters for designs.
Fair enough.
Pro Series Podcast on Instagram, and then Pro Series Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, it was good. It was good having you on, and I think you're interesting, extraordinary, and podcast goals for us to get to your numbers. So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing where you go and take this next. So
Thank you.
I'm
I'm
excited.
looking forward to you
Give
guys
us something
too.
to chase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not much to chase, but keep going and you'll get there.
Yeah. Keep
Cool.
showing up.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, dude. It's been good.
Awesome.
All right.